politics, religion.
Okay, I got a story for you. Many years ago, I was a choir director at a Baptist church in Norfolk, Virginia. And I can't tell you, I would get so frustrated with these people for not caring about the quality of their work. We would rehearse, and I would insist on excellence, and they would insist on good enough. And finally, one day, the preacher's wife came up to me and said, "Greg, you gotta be easy on us. We're just doing this for the Lord." And I'm like, all the more reason to do it well.
You grew up in that Christian thing, and that's pure Christianity, that you cannot aspire towards anything really great because that's being unhumble.
Yeah, well, but it got me to thinking how much of my ego was wrapped up in the quality of that choir. That if the stuff we presented during the Sunday service sucked, which it usually did, then the people in the congregation would think, that is a shitty choir director, which I suppose was pretty narcissistic on my part.
We're not narcissists when we enjoy our accomplishments. And if we do something better than someone, it doesn't mean we have to go on in a narcissistic way about it. But we have every right to claim what we can do honestly, to make honest claims. And if they happen to be something that are out of the ordinary and are really worthy, there's no reason not to do that.
I got another story for you. When I was in college, I was a little bit of a Mahler fanatic, and I had fallen in love with Mahler as a teenager through all of those wonderful Bernstein recordings of the 60s and 70s. And as you know, Bernstein had a special affinity with Mahler. And to this day, most other interpretations pale by comparison, to me that is. But anyway, shortly after college, I was at a performance of the Mahler Third at Avery Fisher Hall with the New York Philharmonic, and I think it was Bernard Haitink conducting, who's no slouch himself when it comes to Mahler. But for some reason, it just didn't satisfy me the way the Bernstein interpretations did. And I was trying to explain this to my girlfriend's mom after the performance, and she didn't like that this young squirt right out of college claimed to know better than the guy conducting the New York Philharmonic.
When I was good at what I did musically, which I'm not in the least bit now, but when I was good, people would come up and compare me with X, Y, or Z.
For the sake of our listeners, you were a classical guitarist. Okay.
X, Y, or Z would be people in Chicago who did the same thing I did, you know. And I know a lot of them weren't as good as me because I had the critical ability to hear the difference, to know where they were lacking and all that. And I wouldn't go on a big tirade about how terrible they are, but I would criticize and I would say, well, yeah, but he has this real weak tone and it's very tinkly, and, you know, a good guitar player gets a tone that's much more focused and all this sort of thing. And, you know, I would say little things like that. And they'd look at me and say, oh, you're just jealous.
Oh, my God.
That's the way they, you know, because I'm talking about some specific element of his playing that I considered to be a problem with his playing. As a person who knew this instrument intimately and knew what could be expected from it. And it's not like I didn't trash the person. I would just put out certain things about him that I would say is why I don't really care for his playing that much.
I can't tell you how many times I found myself talking about some esoterica and people think I'm a snob because I can tell the difference between good and great, and they can't. And I've made the mistake of talking about management theory with managers on the job, and they get threatened and start finding extra grunt work for me to do. Or they find a silly reason not to have me back.
It's just that kind of thing that goes on with people. People are like that. You're right. Smart people will constantly cause other people to be very upset with them. There's probably some jealousy, a sense of a lack of self-esteem. That if a person talks about something that's difficult and that he does well, and that a lot of people don't do those things so well, you know, it doesn't mean he's trying to make you feel inferior, but you feel inferior because you just feel like you're a failure or something like that. You want to attack the person because that person is saying things that are painful to you, even though they shouldn't be, you know.